Hello and welcome to this week's Weekly Reading Wednesday. I'm Emma Turton, I'm a medical intuitive, and this week I've been called to speak to you today about how to live in harmony with our microbiota. Excuse me, I need a drink. I started, this is really good. How to live in harmony with our microbiota. And so the reason I want to speak to you about this today, and one of the things that's been coming through to me, is today is Harmony Day in Australia. And Harmony Day is all about celebrating diversity. And what that is for me is an incredible parallel to the human body. It's an incredible parallel to how our body functions in its day-to-day life. Our microbiota are an ecology of microorganisms that support us in every living, breathing, awake or asleep moment in our body. Now, these microbiota are made up of our bacteria, our yeasts, some viruses, and a whole bunch of other single-cell organisms that all are working for the greater good. Now, there is a huge misconception out in the health field that there are both good bacteria and bad bacteria, and I want to debunk this myth for you right now. There is no bacteria. Nothing about bacteria is good or bad. It is simply about whether or not it is in the right place, in the right quantities, and at the right time. So all bacteria, nothing about bacteria is good or bad. It's simply our thinking that makes it so. So any bacteria we have, or any yeast or virus in our body, can actually be in the wrong place at the wrong time in the wrong quantity. And that is what makes us unwell. It's not because they're bad or evil or have something against us or should be killed. It is simply that they are in the wrong place and that our body hasn't figured out exactly where they should go. And so our immune system is actually the welcoming committee that allows us to direct the flow of traffic to the right places and keeps the right bacteria in the right quantities, in the right places, at the right times, and maintains our health. And so these bacteria, yeasts or fungus, these viruses, these other cells, how many of them are there in our system? Research shows that there's between 10 and 100 trillion symbiotic organisms that live in our system. And when we talk about the microbiome, you may have heard about the human microbiome, we are actually talking about the genetic material that's in each of these organisms. So each of these organisms has its own genetic material. And the microbiome is made up of all of the genetic material of our microbiota, our bacteria, yeasts, viruses, fungus. And on a basis, gene to gene, cell to cell, our human genes are outnumbered more than 3 to 1 by these microbiome genes. So we are not really human when we look at it that way. We are actually a bacteria having a human experience. And what research is beginning to show also that our decision making, our actual choices in day-to-day life are driven by our own microbiome. And if we change our microbiome, we change our decisions. We choose different foods, we choose different partners, we choose different jobs, we choose different things based on the bacteria and yeasts in our body at that time. And I think that's a fascinating thing. So we actually have the incredible support of this community in our body at all times. And how we treat the community of our microbiome changes how we experience our day-to-day life. So I want you to stop thinking of bacteria as bad and scary and dirty and something we need to kill off. Stop thinking of yeast as something that are always out of control and we need to just slay them with antifungals and antibiotics with our bacteria. Start having a look at these guys as being more you than you are, because you are actually made up of this incredible diverse population of tiny little warriors, beings, workers, and loving individuals that are all there to support you. They're all working for the greater good, which is you, and supporting you. Hi, Tanita. And so we are focusing on the wrong things. When we start taking our antibiotics, and by all means, antibiotics are actually a very valuable tool when it comes to our health. If we're in a life-threatening health crisis and require antibiotics, that's what they're invented for, and that's what they should be used for. Not for every little thing that we come across in our lives. Antibiotics and antifungals decimate our immune system, but not just in we just need to take a probiotic afterwards and negate the effects kind of way, but in an actual decimation of all of the ecology and ecosystem that we have built up over our lifetime. So, and it's not too late. We can actually rebuild these communities, but it is a community you're rebuilding. And if we draw the parallel with dropping a bomb on a city and then having to rebuild the city afterwards. It takes a long time to rebuild. It takes a while to get things back to being functional again, in that it takes some time to actually build up the population in the right balances, in the right places, so that we don't have other issues in the rebuild phase. So what I want to talk about is this bacteria and how it is affected by our energetic influences, how we can actually support our bacteria energetically, and what it means when we have imbalances in our bacteria on that energetic level, because it is quite common. So the two types of imbalance in our bacteria and yeasts are an undergrowth problem and an overgrowth problem. That's how I divide them up. So an undergrowth problem can either be an undergrowth of bacteria or an undergrowth of yeasts. And so bacteria is the most common. It's the one most of us know about. We'll have an undergrowth problem if we have taken antibiotics to clear up an infection, a bacterial infection. And we will have an undergrowth issue with yeast if we've taken an antifungal. So it will decimate that population. And what happens with antibiotics is it does not just kill the specific bacteria that's causing the problem. It kills all of them. All of them, the whole community, good guys, bad guys, the mediocre guys, the guys that are in the right places trying to do the right thing and actually have your best interests at heart, they're all gone. And from that point onwards, we need to start building things up. But our lifestyle choices can change that too. Our lifestyle can lead to an undergrowth issue in our bacteria, in our gut flora. So our gut flora is our bacteria and our yeast. And that is caused by, say, eating too much meat, too much sugar, or extreme hot drinks, or really cold drinks, things that are hostile to our environment. And so energetically, your body will be asking you if you've been suffering from this undergrowth problem of bacteria, so not enough bacteria in your gut flora, not enough of the right stuff in the right places at the right times. Your body will be asking you, where are you creating this hostile environment? Either in your food choices or in your lifestyle choices. Where are you neglecting to nurture your inner world or your outer world so that it nurtures you back? And perhaps where are you continuing to assault yourself with a barrage of poor choices? Because when we choose to, say, soldier on through a head cold, keep going to work, keep taking the kids to their stuff, keep doing everything we need to do, showing up, bending over backwards for everybody, going to bed late, doing all that stuff when we are sick and not listening to the signs of our body, of course we're going to get an infection that needs antibiotics. Of course we'll have the chest infection, the sinus infection, the ear infection, the tonsillitis. Of course we will end up with that next level that needs the antibiotics in order to heal. So that's a hostile environment we've created. We've been hostile towards ourselves and our own ecology. And because of that, the bacteria get out of whack. They get out of balance with each other. And so you have this incredible opportunity if you've been suffering from low gut flora or a bacterial undergrowth issue, or perhaps having an overgrowth in terms of a bacterial infection and the following undergrowth after taking an antibiotic, then you are being invited to explore where you are creating this hostile environment and how you can be more nurturing and kind to yourself, how you can actually bring in gentle, nourishing food, gentle, nourishing practices, gentle, nourishing exercise, relationships, going to bed early, and drinking room temperature drinks, eating room temperature food perhaps as well. If you tend to eat your food way too hot, you will also be destroying some of the flora in your mouth. And so you are being invited to treat yourself kindly and to identify where you are out of alignment and treating yourself in a hostile manner. If you've been suffering from an overgrowth problem, that's quite a different energetic topic. So overgrowth problems are really interesting to me, and they're slightly less well known. So overgrowth of bacteria, an example of that would be the SIBO, or small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, which is becoming a more common diagnosis for a lot of people. And an overgrowth in yeast could be something like a candida diagnosis, where that particular yeast candida actually overgrows in certain areas and can cause problems. And so what can happen here is that our bacteria and our yeast are getting out of alignment. They're perhaps in the wrong place, but they're getting too many in the wrong place. So in small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, the bacteria is meant to be mostly in the large intestine, not in the small intestine. So there's a movement of bacteria to the wrong part of the body, and it overgrows because there's not much there to keep it balanced. But our body energetically can rebalance itself. And so what you are being invited to explore here is where you are feeling overwhelmed, where you are feeling physically overwhelmed or energetically overwhelmed, or perhaps both. And this may be by your partner, by your family, this may be by your job, by life in general, or perhaps by the world at large and social media. It may be by your work that is making you feel overwhelmed. And in this, our body starts to get really out of balance, and our ecosystem starts to overgrow in the wrong ways and not support us in our health anymore. So you may want to start exploring where you're feeling disconnected from your partner, from your tribe, from the world around you, where you are feeling alone and like you are doing it alone and very much at odds, like the black sheep, and feeling that overwhelm and that belief in separation, that you are not representative of all that there is, that you are not in fact all that there is. And that all that there is not you, that you are feeling that distance between you and the infinite, between you and being able to create the life you want, where you feel that separation there. And that is very much what is the energetic meaning behind these issues. So for you to start to really lean into your bacteria, your yeast, and start to see them as friends, start to energetically connect with them. Know that they are choosing your food for you. Know that they are meditating with you, that they are exercising with you. When you're at Pilates, your bacteria are in there doing their little mini Pilates at the same time. They all want what's best for you. So when you do what's best for you and your microbiome, they return the favor. So they are not something to battle with, because if we choose to battle, then we will face an army in response. If we choose to approach it with love and light and kindness and compassion, if we choose to approach our bacteria and our yeasts and even our viruses and even the parasites that we may come in contact with, and parasites is a big one in health fields at the moment, that if we choose to approach them with love and kindness and compassion and hold that vibrational frequency, if we hold that energetic feeling state of love, compassion, and kindness towards them, and see that they are not doing us harm, that perhaps they may need to be guided how best to treat us, but perhaps we also need to be guided how best to treat them, that this is actually a community of like-minded, cooperative souls all working on your behalf, supporting you in every moment of your day. Then you are able to completely reprogram them from the ground up. You are able to guide them on how to support you best. And so on this day, this Harmony Day, I invite you to connect in with your microbiota, connect in with the bacteria, the yeasts, the viruses, everything that you come in contact with, because your immune system is so incredibly well designed that it will support you at every breath, and it will allow you to explore what you need to explore in order to show up better for yourself. And if that is allowing a virus to take hold, then that is the lesson that you are here to learn today. And that may be what you are dealing with right now. And that is okay. Don't fight that. Simply see that this is your opportunity to go deeper and rebalance stronger. So you come back stronger and more in alignment with yourself as you recover. And on parasites, one little note there is that no, they're not a natural part of our microbiome. But when we are energetically strong, when we are healthy and balanced and making good choices and supporting ourselves both physically and energetically in our lives, or vibrationally in our lives, then those parasites simply move through, as do viruses. We can come in contact with them, and our immune system just guides them all the way through, and they go out the other end, and they don't take hold in a healthy system. So if parasites have been a problem for you, your system is out of balance. That does not mean we need to come in with the heavy drugs and kill everything. What it means is that we need to try and realign things from the inside out, because these bacteria, when we actually come down to it, these bacteria and yeasts are you. There are more of them than there are of you, and they are you walking on this earth. So I invite you now to realize that you are this diverse population, to love every part of this diverse population that is you, this community that you are, a living, breathing, walking community in the world. Embrace it, love it, and really enjoy this support that you have at every moment. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been an absolute honor, and I will see you again soon. Have a beautiful day.